talking about my top 5 with one bonus bait at the end. So technically it'd be my top 6 late winter, and you can fish these early spring as well and still get a lot of bites. So let's get into it. Coming in at number 1 has to be a good old finesse jig. You cannot go wrong with a finesse jig, especially something like this. This finesse jig here is one by Z-Man. This is the Nano finesse jig by them. It's right about 1/32 of an ounce, I believe, or this might be the 1/8 of an ounce version. I am not 100% sure, but this is great for, you can fish this 8 foot, you can fish this in 3 foot. I mean, if you get a 1/8 ounce one, you can fish this in 12 foot if you want to. It's a great bait, especially if they're suspended or sitting right up on a rocky bank, or kind of right by like a rocky shelf or something. This is a great bait. It's also great for when the bite is really tough, because it is similar to a Ned rig, but it gives you a bit more bulk on there, as you can see, in that more kind of crawfish profile that you would want, especially if you're fishing something like rocky banks or gravel bottom or whatever you might have. It's also light enough that if you have like kind of thick grass on like the bottom, then the 1/32 ounce is actually light enough that it will sit on top of that grass. So this is also kind of a great summertime bait as well. And also, great thing to pair this up with is a TRD craws, because they are perfect like size as a trailer. Right now I'm kind of experimenting with the Z-Man TRD bugs. As you can see, I kind of cut it down and turned it almost into like a craw chunk for this. So this has been producing pretty well for me, but if I don't have any of these TRD bugs, then I am definitely going with the TRD craws. So this is definitely in my top 3 by far. Like, if I could only have 3 baits tied on, this would definitely be one of them, because it just simply gets bit. And on to our next one, kind of in that same category, is just your standard jig. Now this is a Booyah Boo jig. It's a 3/8 ounce. 3/8 ounce is just a good all-around weight, in my opinion. I haven't opened this one yet, but I don't know if you guys can see that, but it does come with rattles. That is the rattle right there. So it comes with 2 of those, and it does add a bit of noise to it. So if you want to track more fish, I personally just take them off, but rattles are always a great addition to a jig like this. And something I'll pair that up with is something like the Zoom Ultra Speed Craw. This is just the standard UV speed craw, so has those really nice kind of like speedworm tails as claws, and those do displace a lot of water. And I would fish this on this jig if the fish are a little bit more aggressive. Say it's a warmer day, they're a little bit more shallow. And I don't have one with me, but I do also really like throwing a beaver style bait on the back of this time of year for those kind of more finicky bass. On to our next one, is sticking with that kind of finesse category, is the Z-Man TRD. Now, nothing says winter quite like one of these. It's just a staple for winter, early spring bass fishing, and obviously because it just gets bit. Actually, any time of the year you can fish this, December through July or August, and it still produces a lot of fish. And like I said, you can throw if you have a little bit more crawfish in the area, you can go with something like the Z-Man TRD craws or like the Z-Man TRD bugs like I had on the back of that Nano Finesse jig. Yeah, so this is definitely a staple in my bag this time of year, just because it's great. You can throw this deep all the way up to shallow. You can bed fish with these. It's such a versatile bait. And if you're just looking to get started and you just want to catch fish, this is going to be great because you're not going to have to buy a bait casting combo. You can buy a budget spinning combo for $50 and spool it up with some fluoro and throw one of these on there, and it'll produce. You'll catch fish and you'll get hooked on the sport. Now, moving into the hard baits, jerk bait is definitely one of them. Just your standard jerk bait. A bigger version like this one. This is a Strike King, or you can go smaller. Like they make a 2-hook version, or Googan Squad has their Googan Junior Scout. That's a great one as well. But jerk baits, I always have one of these tied on this time of year, because for the pure fact that you can catch fish when there's still ice on a lake, and you can catch fish with a jerk bait. You can buy these in deep diving versions, shallow diving versions. This is just a standard. I think it's like 3 to 6 foot, I think. I'm not 100% sure. So don't quote me on that, but the jerk bait is definitely one to have tied on. Just because it flat just catches fish and it just produces this time of year. Especially if you're fishing a pretty pressured fishery, then a smaller version of a jerkbait is great. Especially a smaller version with just 2 hooks on it. Awesome. And also, flukes this time of year are pretty good too. Coming next, this is when water warms up a little bit. Those fish begin to kind of move a little bit more shallow, kind of start keying in on those crawfish and other crustaceans, is a lipless. And I love throwing these, February. I catch fish with these February all the way into April. You can buy them in crawfish colors. This is a, I think this is a Biospawn Bio Bug. I'm not 100%, I can't remember. I think that's the name of it, but do not quote me on that because I am not 100% sure. But yeah, like you guys can see the scratches on the nose of that thing, running it into hitting it against rocks, stumps, all that. It just flat catches fish, especially this time of year. When those fish begin to move up shallow and that water temperature hits 40, 50 degrees, you can throw one of these. And the great thing about this is you can throw this in 4 foot of water all the way up into 10 foot. It's a great bait to throw this time of year. Definitely, I always have one of these tied on when that water temperature begins to warm up because it just flat catches fish. Sticking with that hard bait category, this is a flat crank, and I'm always fishing one of these this time of year. You can buy them shallow diving and deep diving. You can buy flat-sided square bills as well, and fish that up against rocks, stumps, seawalls. But this one is a deeper diving version. It's about 6 to 10, I think. I'm pretty sure, almost 100% sure. But it's great, especially if the fish are suspended. And this is kind of that same color, similar color. This is a fire craw. This is just your standard red craw. But those two right there, definitely have one of these tied on at all times for sure. But I really like that flat-sided because it has a really tight wiggle, which I don't know what it is about that tight wiggle, but this time of year those fish just love it. They can't resist it. This is a Lucky John flat crank. It's a great bait. It's definitely always have one of these tied on. And so, bonus bait. bait that produces not the most fish for me this time of year, but if I want to catch bigger, if I know there's bigger fish in the area and they're just being tough, then I'll definitely throw one of these on. And that is just your standard curl tail worm. This is an Excite Baits curly tail worm, just in your standard green pumpkin. Great for clear and like lightly stained water. But this right here is a versatile bait. It's just such a versatile bait. You can swim it, you can hop it, you can fish it deep, you can fish it shallow. You can really you can fish this honestly. It produces all like throughout the entire year for me. This is also a great pond hopping bait as well. I love pond hopping with one of these, especially in a black and blue. But definitely this is probably my third bait out of my top 3. Be this. I always have one of these tied on, just because if I know there's bigger fish in the area when it's cold out and they're being finicky and kind of sluggish, then this, I don't know what it is about that tail on that worm, but it just produces. It's just great. And another good way to fish this is on a shaky head. And yes, you can fish it weedless on a Texas rig with that weight pegged, but it's also great fishing over rocks on a shaky head. 1/8 ounce shaky head on this is just fantastic. So that is kind of this is the end. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like, and if you would like to see more content like this, or just more content from me, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll be uploading weekly.